Welcome in, everybody, to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Got a special guest with me. It's our buddy, Beer City Bruiser. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm doing fantastic, Tim. And how are you holding up? That's the real question.
Well, we should explain to people that I look a little bit like a pirate today. We're doing something a little different today because Timmy had a little episode with his vision. So I got knocked screwy by no, I didn't. I got knocked screwy at an underwater
needlepoint event.
Needlepoint seminar. Yeah, no,
gotta watch those needle points.
I do. The left hook and the right hook in the yeah. No, I had an episode where for a few weeks my blood pressure was a little higher than normal, and about 15 years ago I had what's called a retinal vein occlusion, which is a blockage in the retinal vein, which got cleared up with some shots to the eye, which is a needle in the eye, Bruiser. You and I both have this aversion to needles in the eye, which everybody should. That's a healthy thing, Bruiser. A healthy thing.
If any fans out there are going, oh, needle in the eye, yeah, sure, let's do that. They need to go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Like that worries me.
Yeah.
You hear about these people getting their eyeballs tattooed?
Oh,
you mad? Oh,
no.
Oh,
no. You know, God loved the eye surgeon because he does have a wonderful numbing gel yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't feel the needle when it went in.
But you still saw it?
Oh, I saw it. Yeah. I saw it. He told me, well, look over here. He was wearing a very nice suit. So evidently they make quite a bit. I'm a little worried about that. So he kept telling me to look down and to the right, which would be right about where this nice brown suit that he was wearing, nice dark brown, looked like a kind of a double tweed type deal. Kind of one of those newer retro suits that looks like it probably is more than I make in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Or a month that he was wearing. And he, very nice doctor, though. He worked on me about 15 years ago, too. An injection we're going to do, he said, well, we're going to do it today. And I went, ooh, boy, because, a needle to the eye is not one of those things that you go, oh, sure, let's get right in there and do it.
I can't wait.
Yeah. And when he goes, ooh, we're going to do it today, all the breath left my body, and that doesn't happen very often. So when he said that, I thought, we're going to have to do a little bit of a different show today. That's just how it's going to happen. Normally I prep quite hard for the shows that I do with authors and with people that have different projects coming out. It's watching something with screen time or reading a book. Can't do that when you're half blind, Bruiser.
Well, I'm assuming they dilated your eyes too, so you can't really just see 100% either, can you?
They did, but it was the time leading up to this that I had lost. Here's another fun story for everybody before we jump into this. And this isn't a poor Timmy session. I don't want people to email me or message me and tell me, oh, you brave soul. This isn't what I was looking for. It's just kind of funny little anecdotes.
Because he looks like a pirate right now.
I do, yeah. I wish I had a picture to show you all. I look like someone's been beating me, like if a dog.
You actually look like me after a street fight.
Really? See, yeah. There you go. I look like if I showed up at a doctor's office right now, they'd pull me aside and ask me if I feel safe at home. That type of deal,
Yes,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and I'd be like, no, why? Is there someone who could pull me out? On Saturday, I work a part-time job every other week up in St. Cloud, up at KNSI, just doing Saturday mornings, kind of, my way of kind of keeping my toes in the water and radio and, doing the old radio thing. And, the smell of sweaty, unwashed newsmen in the morning type of deal. And, because that's what you get on Saturday morning. And they smell ripe with alcohol too, because they've been drinking since Friday night. They just come right into the station on Saturday.
And they don't stop.
They don't, no. And so it's about a 75-mile drive from my house to get up to St. Cloud. This is no quick drive. So,
Okay.
but I enjoy the drive because, I'll put on, Sirius XM. I'll kind of lose myself in thought. Sometimes I'll listen to music or Casey's Top 40 from the 70s, or I'll listen to something newer, or so I don't sound like such a nerd, or I'll listen to our friend Dave LaGreca over on Busted Open.
Yep.
Or I'll listen to something to kind of take my mind off of things. And I'll enjoy the drive.
Okay.
I did not enjoy Saturday's drive. You cannot.
No, you didn't.
No, you cannot enjoy a drive at 4 a.m. When it's pitch black out and you only have 20% vision in one eye.
No, you can't.
No.
It's not very bright out.
Not only that, but it had been snowing.
You live way up there where there's snow and ice in this time of year.
And it had been snowing, Bruiser. That's the thing. And it was slippery. And I kept telling myself, I probably should have called in, but I was a soldier that day. I was stupid. So I did that. I just hit the road.
Stupid or dedicated? I'd like to think dedicated, not stupid. Because there's times where I shouldn't have done my needle point, and I did.
Yeah. Well,
dedicated.
Dedicated, sure.
Stupidly dedicated. How about that?
6 of one, half dozen of the other, sure. We'll call it that. So what we're doing today is we're doing a half and half of what we like to call it in the business here. That's not the business you're thinking of. I know some of you have a dirty mind. No, this is ripped from the headlines for the first part of the program, which those of you who are on the regular Stitcher will get. And then Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for those of you who are on Stitcher Premium. Now, those of you who are sitting there going, but I want to hear Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals too. It's real simple. You just go to Stitcher.com, sign up for Stitcher Premium. It runs for about $5 a month. And I believe right now you can get 1 month for free by just putting in, I believe it's code word or keyword darkness at checkout. So just do that today. Real simple. So without further ado, let's jump into that here, Bruiser. And we're going to start out with some headlines that are kind of ripped from the headlines and things that we haven't really heard about, because really the headlines have been dominated lately by world events. And there's a lot going on. But this one does kind of pertain to the main world event that everyone's focused on, but in a roundabout way. A Russian airline pilot called the war a crime over his own plane intercom, and the flyers clapped. Evidently, there is freedom in the skies. A pilot for a Russian airline told passengers over the plane's intercom that his country's invasion of Ukraine was a, quote, crime, prompting applause from the cabin. Yeah, this is your captain speaking, he said. Welcome to Antalya, which is in Turkey, said the unidentified pilot who works for the Aeroflot subsidiary Pobeda, which in a video of the announcement. Just speaking on behalf of myself, not as a representative of the airline. I think that saves him from execution, I'm sure. He said, I think the war with Ukraine is a crime. We should not continue this war. We must stop it immediately. That's what the Russian pilot said. And it's quite the brave little video if you sit and watch it. He made the announcement in both Russian and English, so he got all bases covered.
Look at that. He really wanted to get his point across.
Yes, he did. His Russian address was met with applause from the cabin. Ukrainian diplomat, I believe this is Alexander Sherba, called the pilot brave and retweeted the video. So there you go. We'll start it off on a little bit of a positive note. How's that?
It's very positive, and good for him for saying it's a crime, and hopefully nothing bad happens to him when he lands back in Russia.
Yeah, well, we can hope.
Yeah.
If authorities got a hold of that video, I'm sure he didn't escape very far.
I mean, the worst thing that could happen is it goes viral, which it sounds like it is.
Yeah, I think it's taken off, much like a lot of his planes.
The plus is a lot of these social media outlets are banning Russia. Like you can't get to their sites if you're in Russia.
Oh, Russia's blocked them. Almost everything now. I think TikTok, Instagram. Instagram was the latest, I think.
So maybe he lucks out. Maybe, Putin can't see it because he's blocked.
That could be. I don't know that YouTube is blocked, though.
I don't know either. It might. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Our next story has to do with the dorm dad from hell, according to prosecutors. At the start of sex trafficking trial, the victim says Lawrence Ray put a knife to his genitals. This one doesn't end well. His own, yeah.
Who are you threatening?
Yeah, I know, right? This reminds me of the O.J. Simpson scene from Naked Gun.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Upon his release from a New Jersey prison in 2010, the 50-year-old father of a Sarah Lawrence college student moved into his daughter's dorm. It was the start of a years-long violent and cult-like criminal enterprise with his daughter's friends as victims. This, according to prosecutors. And it was said by them at the start of Lawrence Ray's trial in federal district court in Manhattan on Thursday. He used violence, fear, sex, and manipulation to get what he wanted, power and money, according to prosecutor Lindsay Keenan, per the New York Times. She described how Ray had placed a plastic bag over the head of a naked woman he forced into prostitution, then watched as she suffocated. Yikes.
That's sick. He really wanted to be top man on campus, didn't he?
I guess. The woman survived only to be ordered to behave and to keep making money for him, Keenan said. After gaining the student's trust through counseling sessions and tales of life adventures, he allegedly used threats, sleep deprivation, and verbal, physical, sexual, and psychological abuse to elicit false confessions to crimes, then demanded hundreds of thousands of dollars. Prosecutors said he also forced students to have sex with each other, took explicit photos of them, and ordered them to perform unpaid labor. Former Sarah Lawrence student Santos Rosario testified Thursday that Ray was attentive and friendly. I don't know how.
How is he friendly? Nothing about this guy sounds friendly.
Not a thing. When he first met him at the college, but a year later, he turned abusive. That sounds more like it.
Yeah.
He would hit me, he would slap me, and at one point held a knife to my genitals, the 30-year-old said, per the Times. Oh, it was to this guy, not to himself.
Okay.
He made me believe that I deserved the treatment and that it was my fault, he added, per the Daily Beast. Keenan said Ray, who lived with the students after leaving the dorm, also threatened to shatter a victim's skull while hitting him with a hammer. Ooh. Arrested
Good way to get your point across.
Yeah, I'll say. Arrested in 2020 following an expose from The Cut. He's accused of crimes including racketeering, conspiracy, extortion, and sex trafficking. Defense lawyer Allegra Glasshauser acknowledged Thursday that Ray, now 63, became absorbed by a fantastic conspiracy, but this is not a criminal enterprise. This was a group of storytellers, she said. One student also is charged. That's unbelievable.
A group of storytellers? What does that mean? Like they were all lying?
I guess.
They all made it up?
I guess that's what she's saying.
Like, hey, we're going to get back at this guy. Let's make this story up?
Yeah. How do you make something like that up?
I don't know. And it's pretty creative the way they did it because it involved everything. It involved attempted murder, kidnapping, prostitution, sex trafficking, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Someone needs to stop watching Law and Order if that's a story.
I guess. And if someone made that up, they need to be on the staff of Law and Order writing those stories.
Yes.
Because that's just too fantastical not to be true.
Yeah. Well, the guy's on trial, so yeah, we'll see if it's true or not.
Yeah, exactly. We'll follow up with that story and let you know what happens with it.
I like that his defense is they're all lying and telling a story.
Not hardly. Speaking of a little bit too good to be true, on the show here, Bruiser, we were covering the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Unfortunately, I think we might have been covering it with the wrong person. But we were mentioning the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and what had happened with Ghislaine. One of the jurors on that jury admitted to a mistake in selection. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Scotty David says a failure to report sexual abuse was inadvertent. We'll go into detail here. One of the jurors who convicted Ghislaine Maxwell of crimes including sex trafficking of a minor admitted this past week that he failed to disclose past sexual abuse during jury selection, which Maxwell's lawyers argue is enough to warrant a retrial. After Maxwell's conviction, juror number 50, who identified himself as 35-year-old Scotty David, told media outlets that recalling his own childhood sexual abuse convinced other jurors to believe the testimony offered by Maxwell's victims after initial doubts about whether they were recalling events correctly. But in answer to a question about past sexual abuse on his jury screening questionnaire, the juror had checked the no box, that according to the New York Times. The juror, who previously said he didn't recall answering the question, did not truthfully respond to perhaps the most important question put to potential jurors about their personal experiences, a question that pertained directly to the core allegations against Ms. Maxwell, her lawyers argued, in seeking a retrial. And if he had, he would have been challenged and excluded for cause. The statements made to the media were clear, strong, substantial, and incontrovertible evidence that there had been a false statement during jury selection, added Judge Allison J. Nathan, who questioned the juror at a federal courthouse in Manhattan on Tuesday. He'd been ordered to testify with a grant of immunity from prosecution. He told Nathan that he was shocked and embarrassed to learn that he'd made an inadvertent mistake while rushing through the questionnaire, believing the question about past sexual abuse applied to family and friends, per the Independent. If I'd lied deliberately, I wouldn't have told a soul. It was an honest mistake, he added. I don't really think about my sexual abuse, period. I don't tell many people. In fact, he said most people in his life weren't aware of the abuse until he spoke out. I saw the victims on the stand and I said, I can do that too, he said. Nathan said his testimony was inconsistent with his statements to the media, per the Independent. The two sides are to present arguments in response to the testimony in a week's time. Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And it's sad because if they do another retrial, all those people, all those victims have to relive that all over again, because they're going to have to do the whole trial all over again with new jury selection and all that. And, I get where he's saying, because he came to peace with it. He didn't think it was a big deal, but you still got to check that box,
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only that, but then you now give the defense a new, more than one new angle at how you attack this case. And now you've given the defense a new look at a different bias, from the court.
Yeah. And you're basically giving her another chance at not going free, but not being as punished as severely as she should.
Yeah,
that makes
you're
sense.
Right. You're right. Yeah. When it comes to sentencing, then you can lean on the fact that the court might have been biased the first time
Correct.
around, and you can seek a lighter sentence. I do believe you're right on that.
And it's sad too, because it's such a high profile case. This isn't like just an everyday sexual predator. This was, it's got to be crime of the century, because Epstein died before he could do everything, so she was the one, you know what I mean? And now to see that it might go to trial again, it's sad,
Well, and the chances that you may be able to get something, I mean, even down the line, and they are slim, keep that in mind, but the chances that you may be able to get something down the line from somebody like Prince Andrew or from somebody out of that black book, even though that black book supposedly was up for auction, I believe it was at Sotheby's or somewhere like that. The fact that you might be able to get somebody down the line who can testify to some of these egregious crimes. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I think, and see how far up the chain you can really go.
Yeah.
I think is important. I think it's important because there are a lot of abuses by people higher up in power.
Oh yeah, and it has to come to an end. People need to be held responsible. And if that book is if there's a case in that book, this juror doing what he did could hurt that future case.
Yeah, exactly.
How long do you think that book shows up in the True Crime Museum in DC or in Zach Baggins? He's got the serial killer in the crime wing of his museum. How long do you think it shows up in one of those? If it's up for auction already, I bet you it's going to show up in one of those.
I would think. I would think less Zach's museum than somebody else's museum. I would think Zach would go for something that was more personal. I mean, that's kind of an interesting item for Zach to hold on to, but he wants something more personal, I think, of Jeffrey Epstein's.
Yeah. But it could end up in that True Crime Museum. There's one in Philly and there's one in DC, I know.
Yeah. Yep.
Where like the Bonnie and Clyde car is and all that. It could end up there.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, this was I don't want to say trial of the century, but pretty close to it. I don't remember that much buzz about something like this since OJ. Maybe Casey Anthony, maybe.
Yeah. No, it's one of the bigger trials. That's for sure. I think a lot of attention has been taken away from it because of other events.
Yeah.
I think attention has been steered away conveniently at certain times.
Yeah.
Because of political climates. And we won't go into political climates, but I think I think there have been some times where the heat has been taken off of it and then put back on it and taken off of it and put back on it. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what exactly happens to Ghislaine Maxwell.
I want to see it too, and I want to see what happens to this juror because there could be legal ramifications for him too. So.
True, very true. You're absolutely right about that.
It'll be interesting to see these next couple months.
Yeah, very much so. Let's move on. There's an ex-zoo CEO who said he did nothing wrong. Here's your $400,000 back. Somehow those two sentences don't line up.
I did nothing wrong.
Here's
your $400,000 back.
Here's your $400,000 back.
That's like my daughter coming up going, Dad, I didn't do anything wrong, but yet being covered in chocolate sauce all over her face and hands.
Right. Or your son saying, Dad, I didn't do anything wrong. The car's in pieces out in the driveway.
Exactly. It just came in with the steering wheel. Like
that's right.
Dad.
It just magically fell apart. Thomas Staff agrees to return $400,000 to the Columbus Zoo. His lawyer says he's a scapegoat, Bruiser.
Oh, he is.
Yes, he's.
So it wasn't him that took the $400,000. No, somebody else.
Yeah, a former chief executive officer has agreed to repay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium after audits concluded that improper spending and questionable business practices cost the institution more than $630,000. Yikes.
Why is there a trip to Jamaica on here?
Yeah.
Oh, I had to go see the kangaroos. There's no kangaroos in Jamaica.
Oh, the manta rays then. I don't know. Something down there. The zoo's board of directors announced approval of a settlement with former CEO Thomas Staff for $400,000. So $630,000 is missing, but he's only responsible for $4.
So where's that other $230,000?
I'll take that deal. So he's responsible for $400,000, which in August 2021 forensic audit said he received inappropriately. The Columbus Dispatch reports that Staff's attorney, Rex Elliott, said his client agreed to pay back the money so that he could move forward with his life. But he said the zoo was well aware of staff's actions. I don't know that I get this.
They were well aware of staff's actions. So the zoo knew he was stealing the money.
Yeah.
But decided to go, you know what, it's okay.
Yeah, you're all right.
It's only $10 or $15 from petty cash.
Yeah. We had it in a fund.
100,000 here, 100,000 there.
It was the rainy day fund.
Yeah.
The zoo made Mr. Staff a scapegoat, even though they knew about and audited every expenditure it now claims was improper, said Elliott, asserting that his client's work had improved the zoo's national profile and increased its revenues. Oh, well, then why not?
Well, yeah.
Shit.
What's $400,000 if they're making money, right?
That's right. They'll make more.
Yeah.
Staff and former Chief Financial Officer Greg Bell both resigned nearly a year ago after an investigation by the newspaper found they allowed relatives to live in houses owned or controlled by the zoo and sought tickets for family members to zoo entertainment events. That can't be that cushy of a job.
No.
You're like, hey, come on down, stay with us. You got to share the house, though, with about 14 parrots, 12 giraffes, a couple of kangaroos.
Never mind the lion in the bathroom.
Yep.
Let him be.
Yep. You just pet him as you're pooping.
Walk the hyena every, couple hours.
Yeah. And then the zoo events. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of concerts in the park in the summertime, but what do you do in the wintertime in Columbus?
Oh, here in Milwaukee, they have... they do like food vendors and stuff in the winter. So you can go around, check out food vendors, and then they have a bunch of indoor stuff. Like they still do stuff here.
Indoor stuff. I was going to, and what, freeze your ass off waiting for a brat? What do you do?
No, you go inside a building.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, that's kind of odd.
You if you want to, you could walk around outside. Like, you're not going to see anything.
I mean, like at
the polar bear
at the old Minnesota Zoo. Like the last time, it's been years since I've been at the Minnesota Zoo, but all I had was a Dairy Queen on the inside. Like, I mean, if you were like going to do additional food, it'd be food trucks outside. So you'd probably freeze your ass off looking at a polar bear looking at you.
Yeah, here in Milwaukee, they do that. They'll you can go in and they have a lot of enclosed. They have a reptile house, ape house, lion, cat house, that's a whole bunch of stuff. So you can go in and eat food and stuff like that. And then in the fall, they have like trick or treat and stuff like that. So,
jeez, look at you guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming the Columbus Zoo has that too. If they can, embezzle $630,000.
Yes. It says auditors described an overall culture of entitlement among execs as they used zoo assets for everything from golf memberships to vehicles, trips, and World Series tickets.
Oh, yeah, you can't miss the World Series. I mean, that's huge for your zoo.
When was the last time Cleveland was in the World Series?
Forever ago, but Tim, this is for the zoo. They're big Astros fans.
I was going to say,
Dodgers.
Who in the hell is in the World Series that they want to watch? Well, you got Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Cincinnati were in our division.
I was going to say, which one of those is in the... I think the Twins just got a Reds pitcher. What's his name? Scotty Go-Go? I don't know what his name is, but he's like their fourth best pitcher. The Twins don't even... They don't have anybody.
This is for the zoo, Tim. So think about it. They had to go for the zoo. Their penguin is a huge Astros fan.
I guess. They had to take the penguin to the World Series after he bitched too much. He threatened to walk off.
Yep.
In January, the zoo announced settlements with two other former top officials. The board approved a 100... Boy, they have a lot of money in this place.
I'm in the wrong business.
I guess.
Zoos make that much money. I know it's expensive to run a zoo because you got to feed the animals, house the animals, but are they really making that much profit?
I guess you might want to change your gimmick to like the zookeeper abuser. I don't know. Instead of Beer City Bruiser, the zookeeper abuser might be a good one. The board approved a $132,000 settlement with Bell and said former purchasing director Tracy Murnane agreed to repay $11,000. That's it.
Oh, she got a bite. Yeah, okay.
I guess, yeah, officials said. Discussions continue with former marketing vice president Peter Fingerhut. I think he owns that other Fingerhut company, too, who officials have alleged owes the zoo just under $57,000. So evidently it's like a big ATM over there at the Columbus Zoo. You just walk in, you do a little work over there. So I don't know, grab a mop, grab a bucket, go over there, get yourself about a couple $100,000.
Yep.
And then walk out of there, and then you pay back like, I don't know, $10,000-15,000.
I'm in. Let's do this.
Sure.
No criminal charges whatsoever.
No, just
this is embezzlement, isn't it? Like, this is a definition of embezzlement.
yeah, you just come back when you can pay it back. That's
okay.
That's all.
Okay,
that's all you do. You just come.
So they can do monthly installments of $5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I still get to go to the zoo? Like, are they banned from the zoo, or can they still go to the zoo?
You can go to the zoo. You just can't stay in the pet house.
Okay, I just can't stay with the housing the zoo owns. Okay.
Yeah, you can't stay in the pet house.
Do I have to return my car that I bought?
I don't know if you can hold on to that still or not.
I could sell that to pay them back. Then I'm good.
As long as you don't lease.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy it outright. Own it outright, baby. Own it outright.
I'm going to the zoo this week. I'm gonna see what I can get.
They don't play that at the Milwaukee Zoo.
A funny story. This is the Columbus Zoo. My wife and I were actually talking about going because we like going to zoos. Mm-hmm. So anytime that she comes on the road with me, we always take a day or two and we'll find a zoo and an aquarium that's around there. Mm-hmm. We did that in Brooklyn and New Jersey and Philly and all that. And over Thanksgiving, we went to Cleveland and we were going to go to the Columbus Zoo on one of those days. But the weather was so bad, we decided against it. I'm glad, because I would have been part of a crime then, helping somebody embezzle $630,000.
Evidently, when you buy a ticket, they hand you $100,000 back.
Well, then I should have watched it.
That's how it works.
I can't. We do not tell this to her. All right, she's gonna slap me otherwise.
Yeah. Go in, buy a membership, and get $150,000. See how that works.
Yeah. It's perfect.
It's such a good organization. I'm telling you.
But wait, how much do I have to pay back? I only have to pay back $1,000? Sure, let's do this.
Yeah. So you go in, you buy a membership.
Yep.
They put $150,000 in your account.
Okay.
You pay back $10,000.
That's it.
That's it.
Easy.
Just get yourself a halfway decent lawyer.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah. And then you're good. See?
Perfect.
You have the new house paid for in no time flat there, Bruce.
And what I'll do is I'll find a juror that has biased against the zoos, and then I win.
There you go.
See?
Piece of cake.
Well, we could be criminal masterminds, Tim.
I don't know about masterminds. We'll get away with it for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think you and I look good in orange jumpsuits.
I think so too. Yeah. It's perfect.
And I think they make extra large chains for both of us.
Okay.
I think we'll be all right.
All right. We got this.
And hey, you know what? I hear the jumpsuits are slimming and the food absolutely helps you lose weight. So I could go for that.
3 hots and a cot. Let's go.
That's right, baby. That's right. I got a story here in front of me about Hannibal Lecter's real-life inspiration is scarier than the Silence of the Lambs. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, I'm ready. I love serial killer stuff, so let's do this.
Though he was a composite of various real-life killers, the Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter was particularly inspired by one foppish murderer, it says here. Hannibal Lecter is one of the most iconic and terrifying villains in cinematic history, debuting in the 1981 book Red Dragon. He would later be most well known from The Silence of the Lambs with Anthony Hopkins' demented and diabolical portrayal of the Doctor. Between his sociopathic behavior and his tendency to eat his victims, Lecter charismatically creeped out many who watched his movies. However, the story behind the fictional killer, sorry, my one eye crossed there. The story behind the fictional killer may be even more harrowing. Based on a real-life murderous doctor, Hannibal's creation in Thomas Harris's novels was a grim example of art imitating life. From his homicidal tendencies to his impeccable charm, so much of what the audiences recognize about Lecter had roots in a real-life killer. So here's the true terror behind Hannibal Lecter that's sure to have the lambs far more than just silent. If you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
Okay, who was Hannibal Lecter based on, you may ask? Well, back in the early 1960s, Silence of the Lambs author Thomas Harris was working as a journalist. One of the cases took him to Mexico to interview a gruesomely wounded killer, Dykes Askew Simmons. However, it was the fellow prisoner who had tended to this convict that truly left an imprint on Harris when crafting the horror movie icon. This was Dr. Salazar, a supposed prison staff member who began interviewing Harris as much as the reverse. Again, that one eye is kicking out on me there. His questions and mannerisms were incredibly astute, truly embodying I can't read that word. The ideas that he put forth concerning Simmons's victims were both intellectually and utterly gruesome. Harris later found out that Salazar was not the prison employee he had assumed he was. In fact, he was a prisoner himself named Alfredo Bally Trevino. Trevino was also a gay man during a time and place in Mexico where it was highly looked down upon. His attempt to fit into mainstream society greatly angered his lover, whom Trevino would later kill in anger. Afterwards, he sliced him into a myriad of intricate pieces and buried him in a vain attempt to get away with the crime. On top of his already horrendous act, he also is suspected of committing similar murders upon numerous hitchhikers. Now, it says, how are Hannibal Lecter and Alfredo Bally Trevino similar? Well, the idea of killing and dismembering their victims is an obvious similarity between Hannibal Lecter and Alfredo Bally Trevino, but this wasn't the only area in which Harris was inspired. There's also the fact that Alfredo had impeccable taste and erudite mannerisms, even when imprisoned. This heavily resembles Lecter's own characterization, in which he upholds gentlemanlike qualities when speaking and carrying himself. At the time, Trevino wasn't the only killer who inspired Harris when he created Lecter, but the idea of getting into a killer's demented mind was a lot easier due to his experience in the Mexican prison. This makes Lecter essentially a composite character based on real killers, much like Mario Puzo's Don Corleone. Though it's unknown if Trevino ever ate a victim's liver with fava beans, it's certain that the real-life killer made a grisly impact on Lecter's creator. So there you go. That is the real-life inspiration behind Hannibal Lecter.
On Hannibal Lecter's an amazing, like Anthony Hopkins nailed that. I love how 1 minute, I was thinking of the scene where they're getting ready to transport him. So they have him in that giant cage, and he's real nice and calm. And then they come in, and you see him like flip a switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when he attacks him. And every time you talk to people that survive serial killers and stuff, that's what they say. They say 1 minute they're normal, and the next minute it's like they're in there with a monster.
Yeah.
So this guy, obviously, that was in prison, I'm sure Harris saw, him act all normal and stuff, but he must have seen that switch too at some point.
Yeah, very much so. And you point out, you make a great point, and that's this, that anybody else in that role of Hannibal Lecter, I don't think pulls it off. It's really Anthony Hopkins who embodies that role and takes it to where it has to be and gives it that credibility, that bit of believability, that he's the suave, debonair gentleman. Mm-hmm. And then 1 minute and then the next he explodes.
They actually have a movie before Silence of the Lambs, The Red Dragon and Hannibal,
yes,
which is based on Red Dragon, and the actor that plays Hannibal, and I saw it after obviously Silence of the Lambs. And I went back and watched it, and it was almost like it angers you because this guy's like just butchering the role. But it makes you respect Sir Anthony Hopkins that much more because he just embodied, like when you think Hannibal Lecter, you think of him. Yeah. You don't think of the other guy.
Yeah. And almost to the point where, when you watch Silence of the Lambs and then you you watch the sequel and you notice the differences between Clarice Starling and Silence of the Lambs and then Hannibal, you don't mind it.
No.
Because the performance is so good by Sir Anthony Hopkins that it's just like, well, I don't care. Even though the performance drops off.
Yeah, he's still that psychopathic one in Hannibal. Like he has that scene when he's eating Ray Liotta's brain, you know, and you see that switch again. But you're right. The first one is where you get to feel like, okay, this guy's crazy. And the second one, I think they just wanted to give him, a little more free reign.
Yes, you know? Free reign, and they set him more up as an anti-hero.
Yeah, because he became so popular with the first one. Because he's not really the villain in the first one. The villain's Wild Bill.
Right.
You know, he's supposed to be helping, but by the end of the movie, they make him the villain because he eats police and wears their skin out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But the second one, you want her to find him not because you want her to catch him, but because you want closure between the two of them.
Right. Exactly. There's a story here. Speaking of bizarre conclusions, that I talked to you a little bit about before the show, and the headline really got buried this past week, but is disturbing to say the least. You know, we talk about terrorism in the United States and big acts, little acts, how it happens, why it happens, small cells, big cells. And I think we fool ourselves a little bit as to where it can happen, when it can happen, and what construes terrorism. Mm-hmm. There was something that happened in Vegas this past week. And actually, it just happened the other day. It wasn't even this past week. It was just the other day.
I'm surprised that this didn't get more coverage when you were telling me about off the air.
Yeah. You
know, and I keep my ear to the ground, especially since doing this stuff with you. And I didn't hear anything. Yeah. And I was amazed because this has got it all. Like, folks, you're in for a treat. This has everything in the story.
This got buried. I mean, it basically what it was a guy got a Plenty of Fish date. He was on Plenty of Fish. Picked up a date off of it and had a bizarre, painful conclusion to it. Police say that Nika Nikubin stabbed her suitor near Las Vegas to avenge a U.S. killing of an Iranian general. Now, keep in mind, with everything going on in the news, you hear about, if you want to connect the political dots here, you hear about the terrific triangle or the square that is of this axis power, this new axis power of Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea to a certain point, that seem to be coagulating of world events. Keep in mind that in early 2020, U.S. drones had killed a top Iranian general. Okay. And that's the kind of the basis of this whole killing in Las Vegas.
That kind of got buried too after it happened. I remember hearing about the strike.
Yep.
But then that was it because so much more was going on in the world in 2020, you know?
Yep. And let's face it, we were in the middle of a pandemic when it happened too. So it kind of happened, and then you were getting your COVID numbers.
Yeah, well, and America at the time wasn't necessarily at peace with itself. You know, there was a lot going on stateside.
Yeah. Yep.
In 2020.
Yep. Well, more than 2 years later, after that drone strike on the top Iranian general, a man looking for love in a hotel room near Las Vegas paid for it. In a bizarre criminal report, police in Henderson, Nevada say a woman stabbed her date in retaliation for the killing of Major General Qasem Soleimani. That according to KLAS. 21-year-old Nika Nikubin faces charges including attempted murder and battery with a deadly weapon. According to the police report, Nikubin met up with a man she met on Plenty of Fish on the dating site. He may have wanted companionship, but police say Nokubin confessed that she wanted revenge for Soleimani's death, according to the Las Vegas Review and Journal. It's not clear why she chose her unidentified victim. Whatever the reason, the two got a local hotel room, started doing what strangers do in a rented hotel room. And in this case, it involved a blindfold, which you may think is a good start, Bruiser.
Yeah, like, okay, this is what we're doing. All right.
Yeah. After Nokubin placed it on her would-be suitor, he felt a pain on the side of his neck, according to the police report. He then pushed her off, ran out of the room, and summoned help. Not good.
No, not good at all.
Upon her arrest, Nokubin advised that there are injustices, in particular the killing of Qasem Soleimani in Iran, detectives wrote, directly in the report, by the way. Nokubin stated that she wanted revenge. The man's condition was not available while Nokubin was being held on $60,000 bail. For the record, she told detectives she only wanted to hurt the man. She didn't want to kill him.
She didn't want to kill him.
No.
Well, that's nice of her.
But she stabbed him in the neck.
Yeah, and if I'm going after a terrorist cell, or a cell, that's going after my whatever I believe in, I'm not going on Plenty of Fish. Because I don't think I'm going to match up with anybody. Like, what does their profile look like? You know what I mean? Like, out to get revenge for what we did in Iran? You American invalid.
You insolent dog. I just find it odd that, okay, so keep in mind, you may say, okay, that's not really a terrorist attack.
But it is.
But it is. You've declared you have a cause. You went after an innocent.
An American citizen innocent.
Yeah. And you created an act of terror in order to scare the populace. And you would do it again.
Yeah, it's not your normal act of terrorism, which is usually a big mass event with mass casualties or mass injuries. No, this was a targeted event. What I don't get is first of all, it took 2 years. Now, I understand we're in a pandemic, but 2 years and the only plan she can come up with is Plenty of Fish? Come on. Like,
she was working her way up the ladder, my friend.
She tried Tinder and that didn't work. Yeah. Nobody would swipe right for her.
When they're handing out assignments at the terrorism employment agency, she got.
They're like, she got does this involve a suicide vest?
Yeah,
no, it doesn't. I got it.
Yeah, she was like, "Do you have any bomb vests left?" Nope. But we do have Plenty of Fish trolling. All right, I'll take that. Sign me up. Yeah, unfortunately, I meant fortunately, not unfortunately. Fortunately, she was caught. Yeah. Fortunately, that man is okay. He didn't expire in that attack.
Well, and the question now is, because obviously she came out and said her intentions to the detectives because they put it in their report.
Yep.
Because she only, I guess it'd be aggravated assault she can get charged with. That's not a long jail sentence. So
no, but now it gets turned over to the feds.
That's right, because it is a terrorist act. So she will be put on a list and they will keep watch of her.
Yep. Well, she gets turned over to the feds for a federal crime because she declared she was doing it based on a political belief.
I'm curious to see if this leads to like a little cell, like she was part of a little terrorist cell. You know what I mean? Because know they're going to investigate everything in her background.
Well, what's interesting, one of the things did come up in her background. And in her background, it said that she was like a third-year college student out of California. And that she was a trainer at a gym.
Yeah, but that's normal for, somewhere in her life she was influenced by somebody to get the belief she had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but she's only 21. I mean, that's what kills me.
That's the thing. She's so young. Yeah. I mean, you think about some of the bigger famous criminals back in the day. Who was the girl that was She was a newspaper's daughter, and she was kidnapped, and then later she was brainwashed to rob banks with them. It was back in the 60s.
Patty Hearst.
Patty Hearst, yeah.
Yeah.
She was real young when that happened. You know?
True. Very true. Yeah, you're right about that. Last story for our Rip from the Headline segment here has to do with, I figured I'd leave you on a creeper here, Bruiser. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's get creepy.
Probably a good thing we don't have live phone lines here. A man called into a radio show gets accused of murder in a viral video. Figured I'd leave you with one to give you a little bit of chills here. Footage from a live radio show circulating around Twitter has viewers utterly shocked and questioning whether the callers were actually actors.
Makes sense.
Yeah. During a segment from Young Jock in the Street's morning takeover radio show in Atlanta, Georgia, a caller named Don said the girl he was seeing ghosted him and asked for advice. The clip, uploaded to Twitter by user @_ Mimi taught her.
Mimi taught her.
I wanted to make sure I had it all there correctly. On Wednesday, received more than 1.6 million views and thousands of retweets from people debating whether or not the callers were actors or if the story was even real. While it is common for radio shows to have people call in on air, many are unaware that most of these calls are coming from paid actors. According to Gizmodo, many temp agencies and companies such as Premiere On Call audition actors or prepare them to call into various radio shows. The job is often advertised as an anonymous radio caller. This man called into the radio station because this girl ghosted him, she wrote on Twitter. So the radio calls her with him on the line, and she wants to know why she ghosted him. The clip explained that at first the woman said she did not want to get into it, but the radio host asked if Don cheated. No, he didn't cheat, the woman admitted, but no one listening was prepared for her reasoning. The woman went on to explain that during a kickback or a small gathering of friends in July 2020, she overheard him talking to a friend in the kitchen. She asked the man if he remembered what they were saying, but he said he didn't. They was talking about when they robbed a guy and they shot and killed him, the woman said on air. You don't remember that, Don? Y'all was at the gas station and y'all shot and killed. You don't remember that? The shocked radio host could be heard reacting in the background as Don said he didn't know what she was referring to. Well, that was my brother that you was all talking about, she said calmly. Don replied, oh, shit. The guy that you shot and killed, that was my brother, she repeated. Almost immediately, Don hung up the call. The shocked radio host then asked if she was sure, and she said she was coming forward with serious accusation. Oh, I'm positive. They was talking about the gas station that they was at and everything, she replied. How many times they shot him and just laughing and joking about the situation. And the whole time I'm putting pieces together like, hold on, they're talking about my brother. She said that the people involved with killing her brother were never found, but that she realized that it was Don and his friend. She explained that she did not want to open that she did not want to open about the situation on the radio, probably open up, but that she was put in a tough situation. She also said that she liked Don and was enjoying his company until she overheard the conversation.
Oh, that would ruin a first date.
I think so, yeah. Thousands of users commented and quote tweeted the now viral video, many saying they were completely shocked. My mouth was on the floor, @Mimi Totter said. You're sitting in traffic on the highway. She reveals that he killed her brother, and everyone on the interstate collectively goes, oh shit, one user joked. Others said Don hanging up made him look guilty and questioned why the woman would not contact police as soon as she overheard the conversation. He hung up quick as hell. He definitely did that shit, one user commented. Pardon my language, but this is what's in the story. What the hell she means she doesn't know what to do? Call the damn police, another user wrote. But many were quick to call out the entire call as a scripted gag. I hope people realize those kind of radio gags are all scripted, one user said. There's a service that does them nationwide. Actors, baby, been that way since War of the Roses back in the day, another wrote. But entertainment is entertainment, baby. That's what it says. It is.
I like the reference to War of the Roses, too. What an outdated reference.
Yeah, it is an outdated reference. It is unclear whether or not the call was made by paid actors or if the individuals on the line were telling the truth. Newsweek reached out to Young Jock in the Streets takeover, but did not receive comment in time for publications. Okay, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
We will leave the free audience with this little juicy tidbit. Yours truly worked for one of those agencies.
Oh, did you?
At one time. Yeah, I did.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Were you the caller? Were you Don?
I was I was one of those people that called up and did voices and characters, and I called into Mancow a few times.
I was on Mancow.
Yeah.
Yep. I was also on Jerry Springer.
Were you?
I was brought in 3 times to do a segment, and all 3 times my segment got cut.
No, really?
Yep. But I still got paid and sat, and that's when I found out they're all actors on the Jerry Springer show. So you saying this is confirming that I think this is a ploy.
Yeah, I really do think that it was probably scripted service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, because there's got to be legal ramifications with it.
Yeah, something this deep like this is probably scripted.
Yeah. Well, look at you being one of the actors.
Yeah, I did. I had the reason I worked for a long time. I worked for probably 3 or 4 years. And the only thing that kept me working that long, because they cycle you through so many stations, was that I had different voices.
Okay, so you did accents and you did voices and whatnot.
Yep. And
so it's almost like being a voice actor.
Yeah. So they kept me on, and I had a guy who kind of call up like this. I said, "Man cow, let me tell you something, man cow." Yeah, I had that deal going on, and different voices, but there's.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah. You're even cooler now, Tim.
But yeah, you would call different.
So in this situation, both the DJ was in on it, obviously, and then the female and the male were the callers, were the actors, correct?
You would have multiple actors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they would have multiple people.
Yeah. So
whoever's calling are the actors, and then the DJ is the ringleader. He's the one in charge.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
DJ is the one who basically, he's got a script, and then you have multiple actors that are on different phone lines, and it's all a bit.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Get your ratings up.
Yeah. So,
thank you, Howard Stern.
Yeah. So, but I don't ever hear Stern do those. Stern
has his own cast of characters.
Yeah.
He went out and found Stuttering John and all of them. So like he was, he was your true definition of a shock jock.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think other people were afraid. Like he wasn't afraid. I'm sure he was afraid of losing his job, but other people are probably like, oh, I don't want to lose this job, so let's do this bit. Yeah. And then that way, if we get in trouble, we just say, hey, it's a bit.
I think his cast of characters all do their own bits.
They do. Yeah. I've been on a couple my underwater needle pointing stuff. I've been on a couple shows with a bunch of them because they're all big wrestling fans or needlepoint fans, and and you get to hear it and you meet them and you're like, wait, this isn't how you are on the radio, and you realize they turn it up for the radio. Yeah, exactly. So, everybody has a role to play, and it's all entertainment. So yeah. Well, look at the viral views they're getting out of it. You know what I mean? Like what they wanted, they accomplished. Well, exactly. And just I learned this. A buddy of mine ran a show a few years ago, and at the end of the show, he had a guy do a run-in with a hood, a mask, and it said something about CM Punk doing something there. And he left it as that. Never confirmed nor denied if the person in the mask was CM Punk, but he came in and did all CM Punk stuff and then left. And it just raised that question, was that? So he even said, he goes, I'm not going to tell you if it was or wasn't, but people are talking about it.
Yep. So
in this situation, it doesn't matter if it's, did he kill this person or not, but we're all talking about it.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's what's that. And look, they got 1.6 million
exactly
downloads of this clip or views of this clip.
Exactly.
And you got the morning show out there, and now people are curious. That's what they're looking for.
You just got to be careful, because remember there's that one radio show where they did the water thing. You had to drink a bunch of water to win a Wii. And one of the girls actually ended up either drowning herself or dying because you couldn't go to the bathroom is what it was.
Yeah.
Whoever, and she passed away. So like any DJs listening, if you're doing a bit, be safe.
Yeah, you have to. And there's certain things now that legal departments won't let you do. You have to run it through the legal department, especially at bigger radio chains. The Cumuluses and the iHearts and the Odysseys, not Audacity. That's an editing program. But Odyssey and those chains, you need to clear it through legal if you're going to do anything life-threatening.
These guys got their views, so good for them.
Good for them. Well, it's that time where we bid you adieu if you're listening to the free version of True Crime Tuesday. We want to thank you for joining us for Ripped from the Headlines on this non-traditional, we'll put it that way, True Crime Tuesday. But if you don't want to leave us right now, you don't necessarily have to. What you can do is you can go to Stitcher.com, click on the subscribe button under Stitcher Premium. That will get you to listen to Dumb Crime Stupid Criminals. That'll get you to listen to the ad-free version of Darkness Radio. And that'll get you to listen to hundreds of podcasts ad-free and expand your audio horizons more than you could possibly ever imagine. And the best thing is you can do it for just $5 a month. Do it right now. Go to Stitcher.com, click on that premium button, subscribe to Stitcher Premium for just $5 a month. You'll get Dumb Crime Stupid Criminals as far as True Crime Tuesday. You'll get an ad-free Darkness Radio. And of course, you'll get hundreds of podcasts ad-free and expand those audio horizons. Go ahead and do it today.